Welcome to Leadership in 320. I'm Brennan.
I'm Mitchell.
We are back.
Signature wave.
We are
The double wave.
we are back this week on the pod to do a little visiting about emotions and the importance of managing them.
That's right.
How are you at managing your own emotions, Charlie?
Well, it's all in perspective. Some might look at it right now and say, that guy's not very good at that. But if they could have seen me 10 years ago, they'd say, wow, great improvement.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's some maturity that happens, of course, with most as you venture into adulthood. So
I'd say giving it a number, though, I like giving things numbers. If you are completely locked up, like got things completely under wraps, I'd say that's a 10. I'm at a 8.6.
on managing your emotions.
Yeah, I think so. What do you think? For yourself and for me.
I was going to say, my own emotions.
And it better not be above 8.6.
Well, I guess I'm just trying to compare. I'm not a big one for numbers or labeling it, but if I'm comparing myself to you, I think we have to be in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
In what regard here? We'll talk about this. If we're talking
Everything is under this.
No.
Oh,
Because if we're talking like on the golf course on a Saturday afternoon or something,
What can be going wrong at the golf course on a Saturday afternoon?
well, everything is relates to my golf game. Otherwise, yeah, in the grand perspective, probably not a lot. But, like I said, there's maybe a separate rating to be had at, work, home, golf course. I'd say, overall, it's I'm trending upward, hopefully. Maturity.
That's fair.
But I've been known not to. I've been a little of a hothead, which might surprise some and be a little surprised to others, depending how long you've known me and in
What capacity?
yeah, and how you know me. If it was you know me as a member of a softball team, then you might not be terribly surprised, or baseball, basketball, going back farther.
Any sporting or competitive event? Video game, Mario Kart?
As far as managing your emotions, that might not have been the greatest strength of mine for a period of years.
I was wondering, how many PlayStation controllers did we have to buy
Oh, see, yeah.
because of what you broke? I say we had to buy because you just put it on me saying that, well, if you don't help pay for this, I guess we're just only going to have one controller.
I like to win. I don't like to win. Love to win. I think hate to lose. I think that's actually the problem.
Yeah.
Love to win, but I hate to lose more than I like winning. That, for, again, a period of several years was a problem.
Yeah. And if you have gotten much better. Overall.
And it helps don't do as much, competitive stuff anymore, which...
Although I will say, playing cards with you last weekend, you were...
Yeah, I was not happy either. Yeah,
No.
You're right. See, I don't...
See?
But now it's a problem because I don't have as many outlets as I used to. Before we were on the road doing a lot of stuff.
multiple areas where you could decompress.
Yeah, but now it's like...
with these emotions.
I played a card game, and part of it is you. I don't like losing to you, and you just upset me.
When you saying that, I was thinking, I do a pretty good job overall too, but I believe we were... last year at the Minnewaska golf course, where it wasn't even the golf that was making me not happy. It was you and the comments that you had in regard to my golf when what is it says? The Grinch says, I almost lost my cool back there a little bit.
Yeah, what's the other one of, Tommy Boy, when they're on the sales trip. Him and Spade, he said about whatever. He said, that guy, what did he say? That guy called me a psycho. Did you hear that guy called me a psycho? Did you see yourself back there? You are a psycho. That's true, too.
Yeah, it is.
I could see myself on a car ride home from like a softball tournament saying, did you hear those guys? They called me a psycho. Did you saying that back to me? Did you see yourself back there? You are a psycho. No, but pretty much the point in what we're going to visit about, which this is what we're talking about, but you know, if you can't manage your own emotions, one, you can't manage yourself, and two, you're definitely not going to be able to manage anybody else. You know, if there's a little fire happening, if things aren't going well, and we've talked about this before, but, you know, there's usually not and again, everyone's different in how they operate, but within my experience, you know, you're probably not going to run to somebody in a fire that's, you know, it looks like they don't have an extinguisher in their hand. They're got gasoline.
That's what I was saying. They're dousing things.
They got a gasoline barrel with a big leak in its hand. You're probably not going to run.
And a lighter in the other.
Yeah. You're probably not going to run towards that person when there's a challenge. You know, like I said, if you have someone with the extinguisher putting things out, you know, that's someone that you're probably going to be a little more comfortable with. And that's important in all aspects of life. You know, and again, whether you're a woman, man, whatever else, whatever your role is on a team, whether that's family, you know, at work, you know, a team, sporting team. And that's essentially what leadership is.
Well, anything, whether I feel like, you know, whether you're the general manager of that, the coach, the best player, or even, you know, the kind of the last man down there. But, you know, how are you handling things? So you making things better for everybody, or are you not?
Yeah, you're not helping. And, you know, that goes to a whole lot of things. I mean, if you're, you know, yelling, whatever else, you know, there's a distrust with that, which, speaking of the Grinch one, that's perfect. Well, it's, you know, we celebrated your guy's birthday last night, and I'm going to tell you this. Well, look at, I'm admitting to something else here too. Granted, it was several hours after our dinner date. We ended up in the McDonald's drive-thru. Don't ask how that happened.
Last night?
Last night. Yes, Morgan Wallen. Last night. Yes. Welcome to the pod, Morgan.
So dumb.
Last night. That's how you said it. Last night. Were you listening to that on the way over here?
No.
Yes. That was tonight.
That was
weeks ago. That was tonight. Yes, Mitchell, we did. I haven't been feeling the greatest.
Congratulations.
And I needed a $1.49 ginormous Powerade. I felt like that was something I needed. And of course,
Did you feel better after that?
We had to get an ice cream cone for the other compadres, which, you know.
Did you get an ice cream cone and a double quarter pounder for yourself?
No, I told you what I got.
Yeah, with your Powerade.
No.
You just thought that you maybe forgot about those items.
No, that was all it was. But anyways, as we were turning, you know, you can think of Wilmer there, where McDonald's is there. We were turning up the stoplights, and I mean, they had it turned up to 11, R2, and we were headed to the light show, so it was just happenstance. You know, I didn't drive all the way to McDonald's. We had to drive by there.
You can't drive by and
Not
drive by.
No. Yeah. I told you the purpose for the stop. Anyway, swung in there, and like as we were like at the light before that one, Brennan had just asked him, like, just cool it for a minute, because we, you know, we got a couple things going on, which is great. You know, they both want to do like the alphabet game, you know, where you say an animal and whatever else, and then the other one's saying, you know, give me words so I can spell them. And, it was just like, and then the many time they're like fighting each other, grab each other, fighting over this little toy or whatever else. Like, you know, it's just constant as we're going through. So she had just said, you know, we're gonna put music on, everyone just whatever. And like 12 seconds later, let go of me. Get off of me. So I raised my voice a little bit, which I try not to do as much with the kids, but I'm like, you know, essentially gave them an oi. You know, just stop for just like a minute. And then it was, oh, Dad was going to pull in here and get you an ice cream cone. But, you know, I had already committed. I need a Powerade. So, you know, we had a little hash out there. But, again, try not to do that. Which, you know, the whole raising your voice thing, as it relates to managing your own emotions, you know, I think if you're doing it, in my head anyways, for attention, you know, like if you're raising your voice because someone needs to hear you, which that was the great line there, because, you know, was pretty close to them. They could have heard me. How loud I was talking, but it was an attention getter. It's like, oi! That's my thing. I do oi, by the way. Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard it. I do it sometimes too. I don't know if it's because you started doing it or I started
that
doing
a few
it
years ago.
Yeah.
It just seems to be like a neutral, know what I mean? When you yell oi at somebody, it's not,
I don't even know what's that, but is that like, that's
you know,
like
it's not the whistle. My goodness. Dad used to whistle at us. Remember? like running around DeGraff on a Sunday. On occasion,
Not-
if he was really mad, he'd give a whistle, and it's like, oh my gosh. But then where kids goes, what Dad was saying, I can't remember what he was working for like a hauling company or whatever. It's a hauling gravel or whatever. Do you remember story? Someone whistling at him.
Oh yeah.
When he was backing up to dump or whatever. So and then that was that. Not the dog. Don't whistle at me. So that's what I think. But that's back to the oi. The attention getter is the it's general. It's not hey. It's not you. It's not hey buddy. Anyways. So
Hey buddy.
it seems. I know that's one of your favorites.
Hey
don't, buddy.
Don't no, not even buddy. Don't call me bud. I don't like
bud.
Hey bud. Hey bud. Like you gotta have the most well-intentioned thing ever, but that makes me upset. It's like, no, I'm not Bud. I didn't like being called Bud when I was 8. I don't like it when I'm being 37 years old. Oh my
gosh! But when you give the oi, usually that's a lesson. Hopefully that's not an overuse.
Is that like British?
I don't know. Oi, I think of like I don't know where oi originated in my head, anyways. I guess that's where I would know it from. Oi, just an oi. It's an attention getter. But, if you're always yelling, you're always screaming, whether it's at your kids, at work, whatever else, or on a field of play, it doesn't mean as much. Because everyone, if they hear that voice and it's like, well, he's always yelling, that doesn't mean anything. Once in a while, if you don't want to say save it, but, if you're not overusing that, like I said, it's an attention getter.
Well, yeah,
people know that you're serious and you got to listen up a little bit.
Background noise if he's doing it all the time.
Yeah. No, it doesn't mean a whole
And it also probably means that, again, that guy's on the edge all the time. Like he's crazy. He's just looking for reasons to yell at people.
That guy's crazy.
He's not figuring out manage his own emotions here.
No. But, that's a critical component to leadership, most certainly. Manage your emotions, because if you're not showing that you're willing or able to do that, whatever, like I said, if it's a meeting where there's a lot of, emotion at the table, whatever else, if you're engaging in that or showing that you can't by what you're saying, by your mannerisms, even if you're feeling that way, you could be feeling the burn on the inside sure, but
But that's all part of it. You're managing it, you're, how are you conveying yourself? Are you remaining calm? Are you giving the room a calmness, or are you bringing the tension up in the room? Whether that be at work with your family. Anywhere else. If you're part of a committee in the community, you just gotta. Are you gonna be that, like you had said? Are you the person that people turn to look to because they know you're going to be that calming presence, or are you the person they're going to turn to look to be like, man, this guy's going to snap?
Yeah. Unhinged.
Yeah, just waiting to see what he's going to do. So I will say then, in your defense, that in that regard, you have definitely matured, and you are, like seeing you and, in certain meetings and those types of things. Yeah. You're someone I would follow.
Yeah, it'd be more of a calming presence, which I was not always in certain settings, in competitive settings, which I'm still maybe not really.
You're not what?
Like in a competitive sense.
No, in a competitive setting. Overall, it again depends on it. You could even, like you're saying, you could change that Saturday afternoon at the golf course. You could make that an incredibly unenjoyable experience, or you could you could make it go very well too.
And it's all relative. And see, this is gonna maybe discredit me, which is fine. But if I got my kids with me or something on the golf course, that's a different environment. But if I'm golfing with you and dummy out there, I'm out there to win, and it's okay to want to win.
Well, it is, and I think, maybe to me, even
don't handle it the best, but
no, but I think that is, it's all, about the setting, like you had said too, and who's around it, and I would think that even just having a child, to me anyway, has kind of helped even more with that maturing of how you handle things. And even if something as silly as watching a Vikings game or a Twins game or something, before, where I maybe would have been a little bit more upset with things, you gotta your son sitting right there. It's just like,
No.
all right, like this is not, because again, you are modeling things, and you don't want them to think that that's okay, because really it's not. Like, to again act like a complete lunatic over a sporting event that you're not even participating in.
No, but yeah, like I said, there's a line there, wanting to win, like I used to. And if, again, whether you're an athlete or whatever, if you do it once in a while, sometimes that can be a spark. Or, you have a coach that usually isn't doing that. And then, they have a little instance of, they get fired up, then that can send a little shockwave in a positive sense. But I'm thinking this is funny. You'll think it's funny. I don't think you were there. It was like a Legion baseball game, and it was the first time Brennan had like ever rode anywhere with mom and dad before, like just by herself. And it was, I don't know if it was the first or second inning, and it was a long drive. Unfortunately, it was like for Barrett, and I had drove with some other people, I had at the time, so she was there watching the game with them. It was a bad call. I'm just gonna say it was a terrible call, a strike 3 call. It wasn't even close. And I went back and I didn't like slam it. It was like a tin dugout, with nothing inside. So it was just the tin. I took my helmet. I can't remember what regard, but anyways, whatever I did, it was very loud. Like it sounded like a gunshot in there. Boom. And I did not intend it to be that loud. So then the umpire stopped the game, and he came over and had some words, rightfully so. And then, you can imagine what mom thought of that. Brennan wasn't super impressed. Dad maybe thought it was a little bit funny. And then it was a long ride home, I think, for them the rest of the day. But, if someone didn't do that all the time or wasn't known to, and again, is that ever appropriate to throw a batting helmet? No. But, yeah, again, there's been certainly some maturity that has happened over the years. But you know what? Yeah. And then I think actually one of the things that I've been preaching and we've talked about on here, it's maybe been backwards. Because, you and I have talked about, well, if you're not showing emotion or whatever, if, they're not going with the flow, so something terrible happens. And if you're not down in the dumps and mopey and fired up about it, it's like, well, that means you don't care. Was my thought process, which was the same thought that I maybe had, and I used to get so aggravated at some of my teammates and stuff because if I'm being a psycho about stuff when things aren't going good or whatever, then you look around, no one else is doing it. It's like, come on, don't you guys care? Which is the exact opposite, which I've realized now. You don't have to go the up and down. You want someone that's a neutral party,
level-headed,
which is okay to show some fire once in a while too. I mean, you got to have, as a leader, I think you have to. And again, everybody is different, but I don't want someone that's just stagnant, all the time either. You had to be neutral level, but it's okay to get fired up once in a while. Whether that's to correct something, that's needs some correction, or if things are going really good, to recognize that too, to get fired up a little bit. So, but again, not this, but, maybe just some ebbs and flows.
Yeah, and if you're constantly, again, it loses its impact, I think. If you're constantly, the person who's yelling at their kids all the time, your kids aren't going to care. Where if you're just, if you're calmly talk to your kids all the time, if you have to raise your voice a little bit here and there, I feel like that's gonna get its get their attention a lot more too, and it's just gonna mean more.
Yeah, no, if you're always, what do they say? I don't know the line, but essentially, if you're always yelling, you're really not saying anything. You know what I mean? The person that's always yelling about something, you're not.
Well, it's just easy. It's almost like that Charlie Brown teacher voice. They're just gonna block it out, and it's not gonna really mean much of anything after that.
No, yeah, there's usually not a lot of meaning behind those words that are being yelled. Like I said, if it's an attention getter or whatever else. But to constantly be in that mode is probably not a super great deal. But yeah, like I said, everyone has different roles in that too. Sometimes if you're if you're talking a marriage or whatever it may be, you kind of balance each other out a little bit. But speaking from overall, when I think of my own experience as someone that's always yelling at me, whatever else. And again, if yelling's an attention getter, that's different. But, I don't want to say there's a loss of respect there, but you're probably not going to be perking up your ears as much as you would be otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, if it's especially, I mean, if it's not a meaningful type thing or even appropriate, if it's just, oh, that's just who he is. He just likes to come uncorked and he yells at people. It's like, well, yeah, that's not going to be a great way of leading. I mean, if you can't, essentially, if you're showing people regularly that you cannot manage your own emotions, they're probably not going to want to, they're not going to react either.
And sometimes as adults, you wonder how that would go. Because I still remember vividly, you're going to laugh at this. Mom had the old, I can still picture the radio. It was like a gray metal color, like the two speakers.
Yeah.
But it had the cassette in there. Mm-hmm. And if you remember a long, long time ago, I mean, we were like little. I don't even want to say an age on it. How old were we when she was recording one of our...
Oh man, I forgot. We were not. That was
I mean, pretty
not old.
I mean, pretty young. It wasn't like we were 13 or 14 or anything. But
I would say easily probably under 8 or
anyways,
7.
Yeah, just like a quick recording of one of our absolute wine fests. So we were doing it. She played it back for us when we were not fired up. When we were all in a good place. She said, "Listen to this." It was, hey, that was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I still remember that. And that was not the point of her. She wasn't trying to belittle or embarrass us, but saying, hey, this, just so you guys know, this is what you sound like when you're acting this way. And I think if adults had that mom back for them once in a while,
it'd be embarrassing.
I mean, this is what you sound like. I think that's why you have to be so conscientious of it. When I think of some people I've worked with in the past and just the way they talk to other people, whatever else, it's like, well, you get that kind of face. It's like, whether they're talking to you that way or you're witnessing, they're talking to someone or communicating with somebody. Even, sometimes you get an email or something. It's just like, it just gives you that, like, kind of got to check yourself. Is this how people are feeling when I'm communicating with them? Whether it's, face to face or whether it's email or whatever else. It's like, you got to really be thinking about what that feels like to others and what that sounds like to other people.
Well, I think that's a fair point that you bring up about the face-to-face or emailing, because I do think that a good amount of people just have almost 2 different levels of just what they're comfortable with between what are you going to say, or what can I say to you face-to-face versus, and how is it going to be taken versus what I can do when I'm sitting at home, type you up a little spicier message than what might have been given. It might be a little spicier than if, it's face to face, and then, how am I going to, handle what you respond to me with, which would, might not be the same. And, I might not be able to, you can't hear typed words.
What also that can avoid sometimes, if you're sending that email, you're addressing something. You're sending that with not having the entirety amount of information.
Oh, yeah.
And even if you're not saying it, black and white, this is how it is, but hey, this is what I understand is happening, it still feels gross to the person reading it.
Oh, yeah.
So if at all costs, if you can have a phone call or better face-to-face to address that, because then they can right away address it instead of absolutely, reading the email you sent 42 times and as their blood pressure rises.
But I also feel like that's almost to an extent like a level of how you manage your own emotions, because if you are in a place where you can manage your emotions and handle them appropriately, you're not going to put that person in a situation that allows them to kind of compromise almost not who they are. That's a little dramatic, but I mean, tough week, long week. You got this issue that, maybe you should have visited with them with face to face, and you're like, 4:30 on a Friday afternoon, time for the weekend. Yeah, I'm going to shoot this off. I'm going to give them about 2 days just to simmer on this.
Yeah, that's usually not a good thing for anybody.
So, but I feel like that's almost handling, that's what you said in the email might be completely appropriate, but I feel like how you handled that situation was not appropriate. And that's almost like not managing your own emotions. I feel like, that's one of those ones where it's like, hey, let's just revisit this on Monday and
it's maybe face
to face.
You may not manage your emotions, or you're just a coward. And guess what? We're going to talk about something. Hey, sometimes it is very easy to be a coward. It would be it's much easier.
No, it's always easier to be a coward.
It's so much easier, and it shouldn't be a cowardly act to send that email, because it's going to be and there's sometimes a lot of different elements to it, but yeah, I mean, usually, no, I don't know anyone that loves having those conversations. Oh God, let's go.
Well,
Let's go have this really.
And the thing is, it's so often the times that you choose to just send that email and then they send one back, you whatever, and then it ends up being like, hey, let's meet about this.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, just erase it.
and the conversation ends up usually going pretty well. And it's like, why didn't we just do this to begin with instead of ruining each of our days?
No,
and
it's,
and
and making individual choices like that is a really good way to earn respect or lose a lot of respect in a real hurry from people, just the way you handle it. I think of this, I just told you this about the, here's a good example, the Yogi Berra documentary. I don't know if it's a documentary per se, but essentially out on Netflix, and just how much pain and distrust, essentially when he got fired from being the Yankees manager by Mr. Steinbrenner, and he had sent one of his assistants to do it, to fire him. So, and if, over the years, because it ended up being a thing where, Yogi Berra didn't go back to Yankee Stadium for almost 10 years because of that and how they left. And, through conversations with him and how things unfolded, it was never that he got fired, whether he agreed to it or not, 15 games into the year or whatever it was. But it was just the fact
how it was handled,
that he didn't have the whatever it may be, just to go down and have that conversation with him face to face. Is that, an assistant was sent to him, which, there's a lot of levels to that in our position too. Is, it would be easy a lot of times. And, sometimes you're busy and sometimes you're not able. If you're in a meeting or whatever else, that's different. But large perspective, if you're not willing to have those conversations face to face with people, as unpleasant as they may be for all parties, I mean, it's just not going to work.
No.
And it gets easier too, I would say. You don't want to say case by case basis, but we've talked about this just recently. The more often that you engage in those things, it does become a little easier. If you think back when you first started this job, I remember just absolutely shaking, in my boots several years ago. I had to have a conversation with whether it be a staff member or had some, kind of gnarly, very emotional IEP meetings in my role ahead of this one. It's like, oh my God. I mean, literally losing sleep over this. It's like, how is this going to go? And, the more often you engage in it and you're a part of it, you get a little better at managing it. And I think that comes back to managing your own emotion.
Yeah.
Because you can't control. I think one of the other most critical parts of managing your own emotions is just having the smarts to realize is that you cannot control the actions of others. And as soon as you realize that and let that become a part of your thinking and your decision making, things get a little bit easier and there's a little less angst hanging around. Is, you can't be responsible for the decisions that other people make. You may be a part of cleaning some things up, certainly, but you can't wear that burden. I mean, that's way too heavy, especially when you're thinking of a leadership type role. I mean, you got to set the climate, you got to set the boundaries, you got to get things going in the right direction that hopefully are setting other people up for success. But I mean, that's the bottom line. You don't get to control. I don't get to control how other people speak to me, the decisions other people make. But what I do have control of is, the things I'm going to handle, follow up to that, preemptive measures, how I'm going to communicate with people, how I'm going to treat people. I mean, and then the rest, there's a whole long list of uncontrollables.
It is. And that whole time, part of that is, you can't control your emotions and, manage them and decide how are you going to do this? Are you going to give yourself something extra that you have to clean up due to your own actions or inactions? Or, are you just going to do, make some better choices with that and put yourself in a better position going forward?
Yeah. And I think so often it's, especially in our gig, the whole thing that you only got one chance to have a first impression on somebody, which is a huge thing. But you just think of so many times as far as managing your own emotions. I mean, that's going to be a huge thing of how far as how you're remembered and whether, I don't want to say liked, but respected, which, again, as far as parents, community members you're having interactions with, but all the way down, as far as your own spouse and your own kids. If you can't manage your own emotions, think of how fun or unfun you are to live with. I mean, if you are...
Well, listen, and I don't know, I feel like, just, you can tell me if this does or doesn't fit, but something I heard a while back that I don't think I've added to this yet is just being in a situation like that is, quote from Winston Churchill that said, never let a good crisis go to waste. So to me, I mean, I feel like, step up to the plate, manage yourself, manage your team, whether it's, at work, community, family. And again, how are you going to handle this? Are you going to step up to the plate, and are you going to take action and, again, do something essentially memorable, or, be someone, that face that people know they can turn to and look to assist, or, are you just going to add to the madness and be someone that, they're like, oh, like next time there is something there, they're maybe not even looking to you, they're looking through you to try to find someone who can take some responsibility and positive action with it. So
no, that was fitting. That was a good quote, Mitchell.
You gotta use it to your advantage. Don't view it as a negative thing. Use it as like, how can we flip this around?
How, in what context did Winston use it? Was he using it as like a
well, obviously he was
to bring terror?
No.
He's
like a wartime hero. He helped bring the peace. So I'm just saying, again, he can't help others' actions or control that, but he can either say panic, we're in trouble, kind of a thing, or you can say, this is a crisis. We're not going to let this go to waste here. We're gonna make the most out of this and take advantage of it.
Bring some kind of positive change from it.
Yeah,
that was a good point, Charlie.
Thank you. Every now and then. Don't expect anything else for another few weeks, but
we won't. Promise you that.
I'll have to start searching for some more material.
Sometimes things line up there, Charlie.
Every now and then. You should have seen all the...
That's the problem. I think I could. I could see
my eyes going back.
I could see the firing happen up there. Like a typewriter.
Sometimes they say you're not firing on all cylinders. My problem is all the cylinders are firing and they're firing too quickly.
And all at the same time.
Oh, yeah, there's too much going on.
Oh my gosh. You can see it in your eyes.
Oh yeah.
No, that was good. Charlie, I think we can make our way. That can be a wrap up. It can be a wrap up for us as we close this week, and we'll look ahead to the next.
Hitting that heart of December up here.
Yeah, it's coming.
I know, no snow yet.
The holiday season, which this was appropriate because a lot of times the holiday season is great and fantastic and magical as it is. It can bring some unwanted stress to folks. So manage yourself, manage your own emotions, and carry on.
All right.
All right. We'll catch you next week.
Until next time.